Good evening. Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. Evil lurking around every corner. Slowly we move. Low. Give me just 1 second here. Oh, man. All right. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I hope you're doing well. I just wanted to say sorry about last night. We had a little bit of a I've been kind of under the weather. Been dealing with sinus issues, ear, nose, and throat crap like we normally do. It is what it is. So I had to take last night off. We are doing much better in the voice, the throat and voice area. So we're gonna try to power through this. Man, I gotta be honest. I am just about underwater, man. It is we are going at full tilt here. It's busy. Everything is going at one time. I literally could do 4 or 5 hour long shows and honestly cut out most of my crap and still be able to go and still not be able to get it done. I want to make a big announcement. First and foremost, a apology to Dr. Callahan, Catherine Callahan. Last night was a meeting in Lapel, and I was supposed to go to that meeting. Last night, I was just completely under the weather. I'll be honest. Last night at about 8:30, I was like, oh no, I bet I've got COVID. And thank God I don't have COVID, or at least I've been testing. I've tested and I don't have COVID. So thank God I think that we are COVID free, but it's just been a big nose and ear throat thing. So I am so sorry, Catherine, if you're watching. I'm sorry that I was not able to be there. I will not leave you hanging. I promise that you can count on me as an ally, and we will be there to help you and do what we can. But last night it hit me. It's been going on the last couple days, and it just basically floored me last night. So hopefully we are on the mend, and we will continue to stay non-COVID positive. Fortunately, I've now said COVID enough that we're probably going to get demonetized and struck or whatever. So that's good. But besides that, we also have the other thing that's going to be happening tonight that's going to have us demonetized.
Kristopher,
yes.
We'd have to be monetized before we could be demonetized.
Well, yeah, right. I forgot about that.
We're still new, more. So we're not monetized yet. So
Right.
Just saying.
Yeah, right.
I think if we're gonna, do things to get demonetized, we should do it while we're not monetized.
Might as well do everything now.
Yeah, just get it all out of your system, man.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Speaking of that, that's a good segue there, Producer Kate, into how you guys can help the show. We've got all of our little nice little emoji things over here. The YouTube symbol, like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, share the show with everyone you know. Please do us a favor and like the show if you're watching this specific episode. If you're not subscribed, please do so. Get subscribed. You can do it for free. Just hit the subscription button. Once you do that, it will show you a little bell. Hit the bell. There you can set your notifications. That way you get notified when we are live and when we release other content that are not live streaming videos, because you guys know that we're here normally 5 days a week, sometimes 6 days a week. So Sunday through Thursday, possibly Saturday. Tonight's a Friday, so we're here. We're here all this next coming week, I guess. But it is what it is. So do that and comment. This is a very interactive program. We like to comment with you guys, and we like to see what you guys are saying over in the comment section. I talked with our counterpart at Civic Duty tonight. He released a video, but he had some family duties to attend to tonight. So that's why he was not live. And since he was not live and we were not live last night, I figured we would go ahead and go live tonight. Now, I want to let everybody know we have a lot of Sproles information that we need to get to. But, and I know that people are going to be very disappointed. Tonight is not the Sproles night. Tonight is not a night for Sproles. I am waiting on a body camera. I am waiting on a records release, which is a body camera from the Newcastle City Police Department that will be related to the Sproles situation. I have some major breaking news about John Sproles. The Wish TV Channel 8 news story that released last night, or I guess Wednesday night, and then he's been on like a Wish TV media junket tour. They have had basically all Sproles all the time, and it's crazy. So we will be waiting until Monday or Tuesday. I requested the body camera footage earlier in the week, and I spoke with someone at the City Hall in Newcastle today, and they confirmed that the camera footage is ready for me. The body camera footage is ready. It's just a matter of the person needing to come in and be able to tell which one of the zip drives that they put it on, and they will give it to me. So I will have it Monday, Tuesday at the latest, and we will be doing our Sproles talk then whenever we have that footage. I want to let you guys know, in my opinion, the next thing that I talk to you guys about Sproles about, unless something happens between now and Monday or Tuesday, the next thing that I have to talk to you about, with Sproles is is probably as big as anything else that we've talked about. So the news that I have about Sproles that we will release either Monday or Tuesday, I'm not really sure which one yet, and I'm not trying to tease you guys. We're literally just waiting on body cam. To me, it's just as big as the shooting incident. It's just as big as the bus incident, and it's just as bad, and it's in line with everything else. So you might be putting that in your calendar and thinking about that, because it'll be big, and we want to get a lot of Newcastle and Henry County people here to watch that. All right. Without further ado, we're going to be bringing our guest on. This week was the first official week of the 2024 budget meetings, hearings, sessions, whatever you want to call them. Everyone always calls them budget hearings because that's what they are called at the national level. It's not a hearing. It's a budget meeting, a budget session. This is a time where the Delaware County Council gets together and they go over the budget for the next year. They bring in all of the department heads. They talk with them, and they all talk about what they want. We had Ryan on last Thursday, I guess a week ago yesterday, to talk about the pre-meeting, and he really shocked us by what he had to say. Now, I have watched a good number of the hours of this week of the budget meetings. They've been on YouTube. I've shared the link on our channel. I've shared it on my social media. It's been everywhere. Yeah, it's a disaster. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring Ryan on, and we're going to let him talk with us. It's a disaster, folks. We will be bringing Ryan up now. Ryan.
Good evening.
Hey, good evening.
Yeah. You guys hear me okay?
Yep, we got you good.
All right. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no problem. So, it's been a very productive week. You guys got a lot done. You feel good about everything, and everything's good to go, right?
Well, there might be some who feel that way. I feel like, I mean, I feel like we could have done a lot more. I feel like we're a long ways from the finish line. I don't want to discount the work that we've got done because we got over 32 hours of meetings in 3 days. But I think we should have been a lot further along.
I was thinking you were going to say just like quite the opposite, but I'll take what you said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can interpret it that way. You can interpret it that way. Yes.
You guys got somebody. You guys got a lot of good work done this week. I guess I shouldn't say that. Back up. You guys you've done something. You've done a lot of hours this week. You put a lot of hours in. So, like you said, it's not discounting the hours you put in, but I mean, from my point of view, I listen. A lot of people, accuse us of like, oh, you guys coordinate whatever, and we really don't. But I agree with you 100%. In this week, you guys' job is to be investigators. You guys are detectives. You're the gatekeepers between just people out here, like acting like spoiled brat children who just want to take it all, and you guys are like the parents saying, wait a minute, and you guys are going through and digging through and listening to what these people are determining and trying to come up with what is valid, what's not valid, what's reasonable versus not reasonable. And at the end of the day, listen, you're doing some of you, at least one of you, is doing what you're supposed to be doing. The department heads are doing what they're supposed to be doing. I would be mad at the department heads if they weren't coming out and saying, I want this, I want this, I want this. Now, the flip side of that is they have to, at the same time, realize and be reasonable with that. So, in my opinion, you all, the 7 of you, should really be scrutinizing everything that you're hearing, and I just didn't see that. I did not see that this week. I saw that come from you, and I saw some good questions come from a couple others. I saw Matt Kantz ask some good questions. I saw Whitehead ask some good questions. I saw Jim ask some questions. But beyond that, everybody was basically not there to question anybody other than you.
Well, there were some good questions asked, and I'll definitely would agree with that. Specifically, I thought Eugene was really, really good about asking questions that I didn't think to ask. He would catch things that other people would overlook. But if I could just paint a picture real quick before we really dive into this, we were on here last week after the pre-budget meeting, and all that really was the 4 or 5 biggest departments coming in. We have our budget books. I've got the book right here with me. I didn't have it last time I was on the show, but I got it now. And they were basically telling us what they couldn't live without, right? And we were grilling them. We were grilling them a little bit, but we had no idea what we were walking into until 2 days ago. I went into this budget meeting, and to preface this, I took the week off of work, unpaid, right, to be here all week long to get this done. Last year when we did this budget, we had it wrapped up in the 3 days. The same 3-day period we just did. Last year's budget, we were done. We done it all but finalized really just mop up duty. We had to mop up a couple little line items, but that was it. It was 99% finished. So that was what I was expecting. I wanted to come in and I wanted to lower taxes. My goal was to come in, increase pay for the county employees, 500 plus county employees, and to lower the local income tax, potentially the wheel tax. And there's one more tax I can't think of it right off the top of my head, but I wanted to take a look at lowering taxes. But when I walked in the door, and it's important, I didn't know this till I walked in the door. I walked up to my seat, and I was pulled aside in the other room and was given the jaw-dropping news. We're in real trouble here. Like, it's bad. Like, we are nowhere near where we thought we were on revenue. I said, how bad is it? Like 8-9 million bad to the wrong way. And I was like, holy crap. So everything that I'd planned on doing went out the window at that moment. There's no way we can give raises to everyone or significant raises and cut taxes and all these things. So to give you an understanding of where it was, I got the numbers here today. So basically, when we come in from last year's budget, basically they come in this year, when you count all the funds together, about $9 million more is what the budget was turned in. Now, of that 9 million, some of that comes from like funds that like user fees and hotel tax, stuff like that, stuff that doesn't really affect like the basic taxpayer. What affects the basic taxpayer, where your property taxes are paid, is what's called the county general fund. It's the biggest fund. It's probably 60-70%, maybe 80% of the budget. And that's really where the meat is. That's where we got to cut and where it matters where we cut, right? And in that particular fund, it was $6.3 million over, right? Actually, it was $6.7 million over. Now, over budget. The increase that was turned into us was $6.3 million more than last year, right? So when you look at it like that and you say, well, if it increased 6.3 million from last year and we're 6.7 million over, so what is the first thing you got to do? And which is what we did do. We automatically turned the budget back to last year's numbers, right? The dollar figure we set the budget at last year is where we went to start, right? That means nobody's getting no raises. That means nobody's getting no new employees, none of that. However, as we process through this, there are things that mandatory increase in price, right? Health insurance goes up. There were some contractual services that automatically go up every year. And that's what we've been doing going through these first couple of days, going through the list. And by the time we were done with this, I think they said we were supposed to cut. When we took it from 2024 back to 2023 numbers, I think with the lit budget and the county general, we needed to cut about 1.2 million, right? Pretty daunting. Not only did we not cut the 1.2 million, we went through this thing and we added 2.5 million. We added 2.5 million instead of cut 1.2 million. So now we're at 3.7 million that needs to be cut. This is what's been giving me migraines the last couple of days, because I'm over pulling my hair out. I'm trying to reiterate to my fellow council members, we're going the wrong direction. We have to start making some tough decisions. And it just kept getting added. People were coming up saying, oh, I got to have this, I got to have that. And they're going to do that. That's their job. It's our job as council members to say, I know you need it, but it's just not the year, you know. And by the end of the day, when it was all said and done, we broke for recess today. I'm almost done with this, and we'll dive into the details. My numbers showed, and I just keep track of everything, that we still needed to cut about 3.6 million. President Piper's number, which is the number that matters, you know, she's the president, so we're going by her number. She says it's 1.7 million. Whatever. Okay, I think it's 3.6. She says it's 1.7. Either way, best case scenario. We still, after 3 days at this, we still have to cut $1.7 million. And that's after giving 99% of the 500 county employees no raise at all this year, none. So it's been pretty daunting, to say the least.
So how many I know that after watching day one, and I tried to show that for everyone and I never got a chance to go back and get it. After day one, I know that Sheriff Tony Skinner said, I know it's basically nothing in the grand scheme of things, but I'll do the right thing. I'm going to throw my raise back. Were there any other elected officials or department heads that did that?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. And shout out to Sheriff Skinner. He's a real stand-up guy. For those of you who don't know, the sheriff has an annual salary increase that's mandated by the state. The council has to go along with it. And he's currently making $148,000 a year, and the state said it had to go up to $112,000, right? So as we start diving into this, the sheriff gets up there without anyone asking him and says, I can see the writing on the wall. I can see where this is going. I don't necessarily feel comfortable taking my raise if my team can't really get theirs, along with the other county employees. He said, I'm going to voluntarily forego my $12,000 increase. So to put this in perspective, here's a man who's willing to take $12,000 out of his pocket. Okay. That's $250 a week, $1,000 a month that he could have had. Well, as the day went on, not only did no other official do that, but department head after department head got up there and said, I got to have this, I got to have that. There were some concessions. I don't want to make it sound like there weren't some concessions, but there weren't nowhere near enough. And, people were frustrated. And I think the sheriff was frustrated. And the next day, when he came back up again, he informed the council that after sitting through a day and a half of watching what we're doing, he was considering rescinding his offer of foregoing his raise, because he also agreed. He kind of felt along the lines of what I'm saying, that he didn't feel we were doing what we needed to be doing to get to the right number. And he felt, why am I going to take $12,000 out of my pocket if these department heads can't take $12,000 out of their budget? And I don't think I could disagree with him. I don't think anybody could.
I definitely understand what he's getting at. It's kind of like using money as the principle there, that, hey, I'm willing to do this. And then I'm sitting up here and I'm looking at counselors that aren't apparently taking their job serious, or the job at hand serious. And I'm looking at other elected officials and department heads that are just up here, not doing anything, to do this, even department wide, not to mention out of their own their own skin in the game. So there's been a couple of people ask here, and I don't know the legality of that. Maybe can he deny a state legally mandated pay raise?
That's actually the first question I asked. As soon as he said that, I turned to our council attorney and I said, can he do that if it's mandated? And I was informed by the attorney and Council President Piper that it's his discretion. If he willingly gives it up, he can do that. We can't do it, but he can do it. And that really goes for any of the mandated raises. Like there's a couple positions that are mandated raises, like the sheriff, the prosecutor, the probation officers. All of those have mandated raises built in that the county council has zero control over. We just have to do it. Sure. So when I tell you that no employees got raises, all of those employees did get raises. Yeah. Right. So there are some employees who got raises. Very small number, maybe 5%, definitely under 10%. But the lion's share did not. As of now, I should preface that nothing's been finalized yet, but I mean, I'd feel pretty confident making a bet saying that I don't think it's going to happen. Now, to give you an idea of where my frustration level comes in, this is my third year doing this. I've done this a couple times. Sure. And, we had a 4-hour pre-budget meeting last week. So I come in ready to get down to business. So when people come up to the podium and they're telling us what they have to have, first thing I'm doing is looking through the budget and saying, okay, well, can we cut this from $50,000 down to $45,000? for next year, right? Can we cut this from 100,000 to 90,000? And I was completely shocked as soon as I said that. Council President Piper spoke up and said, we're not really doing that today. Today's more about listening. We're just going to listen to what these department heads have to say about what they have to have and what they can't live without. And I really don't even know how to explain it. I was like, so we're not going to start making cuts today? Like, we've done that every other year. We've got started right away. And I said, no, today's going to be about listening.
On the longest day that you guys are there, I mean, that was a 12-hour day.
And maybe 13. I mean, it was long. Yeah. And both days were. And then today was only like 6. So then to continue with the frustration, I'm already frustrated, but I'm making mental notes as each. I'm still kind of negotiating with these department heads, and we're debating, and I'm trying to push back a little bit about what they have to have and what they don't have to have, and I'm making notes. So when we come in today, we basically make a full pass through the book. We come into day 2. The idea is you go back to the beginning, and now we go round 2. I go in fully expecting today's the bloodbath. Today's where we get down to business, and it was pretty much more of the same. We started doing the same thing again, and all they were telling us is what they had to have, what they couldn't live without. And I would say, well, can we cut? Again, I'm not asking to cut a lot. Can we cut 1,000 from this line item? Can we cut 500 from this line item? And some said it was okay, but 90% every time I would ask that question is, no, I can't live without it. Gotta have it. And these are all increases over the 2023 numbers. So when I told you we had to cut that 1.2 million, they're telling me that this line items went up 10 grand. I'm saying, well, we got to cut 1.2 million. You're wanting me to add 10 grand to this line item. And there are hundreds of line items like that. And they're saying, I got to have it. I cannot do without it. So it's just adding and adding. And now 1.2 million is 2 million. And now it's 2.5 million. And I'm seeing the trend go up. And I pretty much lost my damn cool at one point because, so when are we going to start doing the business? Like, when are we going to start getting down to business and cutting the money that needs to be cut? We're going the wrong way. We've added 500,000 just since we've been here today. And
Ryan, can you clarify something? Because it's been asked several times in the comments, and I know you're pretty far away from your screen to be able to see them. Can you explain why there is a difference in revenues? It sounds like there's not just a difference in, the wish list amounts, but the revenues are going down as well. Can you explain what that is? Why is there a huge change in the tax rate or something? Or, could you clarify for us the reason for the cuts?
I will. I can. Real fast. Let me finish, and I'll absolutely clarify that. And to answer your question, yes, I cannot see any questions. So if I don't answer a question, I
you're
apologize.
Good. We'll she's tagging the ones that might be important later on. We'll go back and get them, but yeah, you're good.
So when I had this moment of saying, and it was probably my biggest outburst I've had in 3 years on the council, because I kind of lost my mind for a minute, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing here, people? It's time to get down to business. And some of the council members were saying, well, yesterday was us listening, and today's more about them telling us what they can't live without. And tomorrow we're going to get down the cuts. And I said, wait a minute. I said, we did that yesterday. I feel like this is Groundhog Day. We did this already. Today's the day where we're supposed to be cutting money. And as these council members are telling me this is what's ironic. I have council members, and I'm not going to name them because I don't give up my sources and my people, but they're texting me, telling me they agree with me. But unfortunately, this is the tone that's been set for the day, so we must continue with that tone. And somebody said, well, we've been doing this all day, and you want to change it now? And I said, no, I've been trying to change it all day. I've been fighting this all day. You guys have been doing this all day, and I'm trying to get to doing the business. So that happened. That was a moment. But to answer your question, it's a very valid and important question. Yes, that's why we're in this jam. There was a crazy misunderstanding of the revenue. I don't know how the hell this happened. but the revenue was nowhere near where it was supposed to be. There was also some changes in the state legislators' property tax things of how you can claim your property tax. I don't really think that's that big of a deal because that's not even really happened yet, and people have to actually request that. It's not automatic. They have to request it on an individual basis. But I'll give you an example of one revenue. Last year, the sheriff was making claims that we were going to be able to house federal inmates. And we're going to make like $1 million a year. And at the time, we thought the contract was going to be done any day now. Well, some council members said, well, look, can we count that revenue since it's going to seem so guaranteed, basically, right? Inevitable. And a couple smart council members, and I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I was on the list on this one, but a couple smart council members said, I don't want to put guaranteed money when we don't have a signed contract. So let's play it safe and hedge our bets. And instead of counting $1 million, let's only count 500,000. And we agreed with that. So we counted this 500,000 of revenue coming in. Well, as all of you know, that contract didn't get signed until just a couple months ago, right? We thought it would be signed in January. We'd have all this revenue coming all this year. On top of that, we thought we would have 50 inmates at $60 a day. As I sit here doing this interview, we have 3 federal inmates in our jail. 3. So there's a big revenue stream that we didn't hit right there. That's a big part of it. I don't know how the hell we got $6 million off. I'm not sure about that. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure it out. Honestly, I'm kind of in recovery mode and just doing my best to tread water here until we can get this thing figured out. But the only way it's going to happen is making some tough decisions.
Yeah, there was another thing that I thought was really interesting, and I didn't actually go back and watch it. And Jackie's asked this reference to health care for the county employees budget item. Per Commissioner Shannon Henry, that Meridian Services paid $700,000 per year for services. Henry further stated that he did not, want Meridian did want providing the county employees.
Well, that was brought up, and
what was that? Can you kind of tell us what that was there?
So what that is we have to, the state. This is another one of those things. A lot of this is the state telling us what to do with our money. The state nib shits in our business without giving us any tools to do what they're telling us to do. And one of their mandates is they're telling us that we have to pay a mental health provider, which in this case is Meridian Services, somewhere along the lines of $750,000 a year, right, to provide our services. Problem is, and there were several elected officials who spoke very angrily about this. The prosecutor, the commissioners, several people were asking the question, what the hell do they do for that $700,000? Like, what do they do? They're not in the jail. They're not doing any programs in the jail. They don't do anything for our community. If you go there and say you're about to go shoot up a mall, they give you, I'm paraphrasing, but the example was given was, here's an appointment in 4 weeks. Try not to shoot up anything in the meantime. And then, we'll talk about it when you come on in. And nobody really knows how to fix that. It's mandated by the state. So we're not really sure what to do with that.
Oh my God.
We could change providers. Somebody's looking into that. If we
heard that was
change
about,
providers. Yeah. I think someone's going to look into it.
That would be a big shakeup if that was changed, actually.
Well, I asked that question. I said, if we're getting this crappy service from a provider right here in our backyard, how crappy is it going to be if we get a provider farther away? And I was reassured there's I think 2 other people within the city limits who could provide that service.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was told. So
that's interesting. I want to show this here real quick before we go on, just to kind of give people an understanding that might not have watched everything. I want to give everybody just like a brief kind of like a look at kind of how things were going. Give me a second here. Let me pull this up.
Hey, by the way, will you prefer my phone straight up and down, or do you want it? It's lateral.
Sideways is the best view, but up and down's good. It's whatever's good for you.
If I change it now, will it automatically change on your end?
We can try it.
If I turn this.
Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yeah, that looks better if you can do it that way.
Yeah, we'll go that route.
Ah, yeah,
We'll do
that looks much better.
Yeah.
And hello, wife.
Is she back there? Yeah. She's back there.
In the
Baby, keep your pants on. They can see you.
Don't get up and do anything crazy. Good Lord.
Yeah. I better turn this just a little bit.
Yeah,
the wrong way.
Ah, God.
That's funny.
All right. So this here, we're looking at the second segment. So we're looking at the afternoon time. This was yesterday, the 7th of September. And this was just pretty early on in. You guys are, of course, are all up here, and up at bat is Mike Ashley, which is a really good guy. One of the better heads of EMS that Delaware County EMS has had in a while. And so I would just want to watch this here for a second.
On line 363.
Yeah, we should be at 7,361, but that's slated to get 2,000 taken out of it.
Right, so we got that 25.
Got 53 what? 50.
No, because a lot of I'm taking care of,
Put down 2 grand in 2 months.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that one's
So we
fine.
pay for licenses, we pay for other stuff that normally comes the end of the year. It's not Christmas shopping, that's just the way it is.
It's went down 2 grand in 8 months.
No, 2 months. This balance is as of 6/30,
Right, but
and it's went down $2,000 more as of August 31st.
so what's the total again?
5361 is what's in there right now.
Right, but it started at 7,500 as of January 1.
Well,
So that's 2,000.
6 months, it was at 7361. Now we're at 5361. So from the end of June until this very moment, it's gone down.
Right, well, let's do big picture for the whole year. It's went down $2,000.
Yeah,
It's
but
a $7,500 line.
everything's not spent.
You make it sound like everything's spent evenly.
Yeah, and it's not, it
I
doesn't
just
work
don't
that
know
way.
what world we're living in, guys. We gotta cut some of this stuff. We can't go to
Well,
every
when the
line
bill
item.
comes due in December, how's he gonna pay it if we cut
I don't
it
know
out?
how we're gonna get to December, because we're never gonna get out of this room, because we're not gonna make these cuts. We have to cut something. We've sat here for hours and hours. I spent 2 grand taking this week off, and I feel like I wasted my damn time. We've not done nothing. We've made no progress, none. We've added $300,000. It's time to get down to business. Forgive me for being so blunt, fellas, but look around the room. We gotta get down to business and do this.
At the same time, we have to be cognizant that we're not putting ourselves in a position to just cut for the sake of cutting, because then we're going to be in quite a bind next year when we don't have the funds to appropriate. So it's good dialogue and it's good conversation, and we're all, learning. We have a very new council, and we're all, learning. And Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not making every cut today and tomorrow. We all know we have to meet multiple times to get this done. So.
Okay. I mean, yes, what Piper said there's accurate. You don't want to get in a position, but that's a flip of the coin. You don't want to get in a position where you're cutting everything right. Right the first day, because then you get in a situation where you're just cut, but you don't want to not cut everything just for the sake of not cutting. That's a two-sided coin there. And I just feel like I've not witnessed anything that she has done or really, yes, there were some good questions from Bill Hughes. All of you had some good questions at a couple points. When it come down to the brass tacks of getting shit done, nobody wanted to do everything. They were afraid. Now, what I think, and you and I talked a little bit show prep leading up to this, I didn't catch it until today, and there were a couple things that happened today that now make that a little bit more clear, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But, I was shocked when she said this, because she said this at the start of the second segment yesterday. We're not going to be cutting all this today and tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We got to meet multiple times. Well, that's what you were doing. you're in the middle of a meeting multiple times. You know, like last year, how long did it take you guys to get this done?
Oh, we wrapped it up on day 3. Other
Okay.
than literally a couple line items where they had the wrong number written down and they had to clean it up at the auditor's office, but the business was done, you know, and I don't know if you intend on going any further, but this exchange continues on for another minute or two, and it gets even more carried away than what you just saw there, because, you know, to just give everybody a little backstory there, what that's talking about, there's a line item for $7,500 for the year, and they still had like 5,200 in the account, and we're 8 months in the year. So I'm saying if we're 8 months in the year and you've only spent, you know, 2,500 and there's, you know, $5,000 left, let's cut that back to $5,000 next year. And they were trying to argue with me, well, it's went down 2,000 in the last month, like it's suddenly going to pick up steam and start spending 2,000 every month. And my argument was, yes, it has come down 2,000 in the last month, but that's the first time it came down anything since January all year. So, you know, we're splitting hairs here is the way I see it, you know, but and it really wasn't about Mike. Mike's pretty good with his budget. He's really good with it. And I told him that afterwards. It wasn't about you or your budget. It was about trying to inspire everyone to get to, you know, get in the fight, you know?
Yeah, right. And Annie, I get what you're saying, which is basically the same thing that they were just saying there. But I mean, do you see what Annie's saying? There's a lot of line items that most of the spending is in the last quarter.
Yeah, there's a lot of like contractual services stuff and things like that. Yeah,
sure, but I mean, I just feel like it wasn't specifically about even this issue. It's just the frustration of here we are at this point in the day, at this point in the process, and still nothing is happening. You guys literally walked out of there today. You walked out of there today after 33 some hours of budget meetings, and you guys still need to cut somewhere, depending on which budget you're looking at, $7.5 or $1.2 million.
right.
And so
Yeah,
7.5 if you're looking at the 24 budget, 1.2 if you're looking at the 23 budget. But
and this exchange that you just played, which continues for about another 2 minutes, this is the one I was talking about that everybody's arguing against me, but people are texting me saying they agree with me. Nobody's speaking up, but they're doing it privately, right? So, and again, I'm not going to out who did it, but, you know, speak up. You know?
Sure. And as something that we talked about in the show prep for this, I have been being inundated with people calling and texting about this, and I think that you've been saying that you've been getting calls from various people in county government saying, like, what is going on here? Before we move on, let's just listen to the rest of this this little piece here, because it is worth listening to.
We will get there. I don't think we need to continue to go over $2,000 at this moment.
Can we because we've been through the majority of a day doing it the way we've been doing it. So, Ryan, you want to change it now and start
I've been
doing it your way. But we've already been through a good chunk of this. So we're going to continue to go the process that we're doing, or are we going to try to shift it and
we're trying to let me explain how it's done. I'm 3 years in here. The last 2 budgets we've done, when we went through this, we look for, I'm not saying eliminate it, I'm saying knock it down a little bit. That's how you add up to find the money that needs to be cut. We're not taking away nothing.
He's giving us money from this year's budget too, so you have to take that into consideration. It's coming from both places.
Well, thank you.
So,
I appreciate that.
yes.
I'm not discounting that we need to get where we need to go. I'm just saying the process has been the process for today, unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever it is. Let's get through it in this way. Everyone's obviously coming up.
That's an interesting comment.
Cutting whatever is available. We know we're line adding everything out back to 2023, and then we're gonna have to come back around. I mean, everybody knows that. So.
What we get through today and tomorrow, then we'll have to give the auditor's office.
Disrupts every line. We're gonna be here for 16 more days.
We're not gonna have everybody tomorrow. We're not gonna have our attorney. We're not gonna have you. We're not gonna have everybody. We are here now. We're here on this page right now. We know they've spent $2,500 in 8 months out of $7,500.
And
Right.
2 of that was in 2 months. So, and it's not
Fair is what it
scheduled,
was.
it's not
been a whole
scheduled,
year.
Ryan. You can't, I mean, if you don't know, it's not like it's $1,000 every month and he's saying, based on his knowledge of his department, that this is the number.
They're all gonna tell us that.
I know.
Jessica. Every
I-
person who comes to that podium is gonna tell us they can't live without losing a penny.
He's losing pennies.
He's losing
He's already
dollars,
been cutting.
and he was already cut before he ever darkened the doorway.
You guys-
I mean,
you
we
guys are a
know,
lot more
we know what the
optimistic than I
reality
am.
is here, Ryan.
I'm gonna ride this ship with you. We'll see where we're at by the time the end of the day is up. I'm gonna make a prediction. I guarantee we don't go backwards. We'll probably be at $1 million plus before we're done today, because that's the route we're going. That's the
Well,
path.
yes, I mean, right now, we're just getting everything back to 2023. We're cutting what we can easily right now, and the auditor's office is going to need time to go back and make sure they adjust FICA and perf and all of those things. So we'll take a few days off and we'll get a new number, and we know at that point when we have to start making the tough decisions. We're not gonna have a number today or tomorrow.
I've got patience. I live in reality. And
We've been through a few of these budgets. We
This
have,
is what
This is
sometimes,
government.
I mean, I felt like a Groundhog Day. We did this yesterday. Today's supposed to be the day where we get
We
down
are.
to business.
we are working on it. All right, so the rest of your budget's all salaries. I had a couple circled, these couple paramedics.
That's pretty much it on that.
I just, I mean, man,
That's how it's been for the last 2 days. 3
Yeah.
days. That's what it's been for 3 days. Yeah.
yeah,
That exchange has happened 25 times over the last 3 days. Right? Maybe not for that long a period of time, but in
Sure.
like 10-second conversations or whatever. I've done that exact same exchange over and over and over for the last 3 days.
let me ask
And
your
now-
opinion of
And
this.
now we're over like 3.7 million. So I predicted we would be over 1 million by the
Yeah.
time the day was up. I was off, it was
You-
like
you were off.
4.7 by the time I went home that night. Yeah.
Do you
So-
think that they are not making the big cuts and they're kind of tiptoeing around this because it's being live streamed?
I don't know if live stream has anything to do with it. I'll be honest. I went through this entire budget process not understanding at all why we weren't making the cuts. As a matter of fact, that's why I was so emphatic and passionate about my arguments. What the hell is going on? What world am I in? Am I in the Matrix here? But now that we've adjourned and I've went back and watched some tape and I've heard some conversations repeated over and over.
Yes.
And I missed it when I was in the room because
Wait,
I was-
pause.
they-
Don't drop this bomb yet. Hold on. Don't drop
Okay.
this bomb just yet. Wait. One more. I want to walk them up there one more time before we get this because we haven't mentioned this yet. So
Okay.
I guess let me just because I know where you're going. Let me stay here just real quick with it because the only reason I'm saying
Absolutely.
that is you and I've talked in the past that with the live streaming, the council members, it seems like in the past, like you've always said, when you're in a council meeting for an hour and a half, it's easy to know, hey, I'm here, we're on, there's an audience out here, we're live streaming, don't say anything stupid, don't show my ass, don't get crazy, be cool. When you're in this thing for 13 hours, on day 2, and you're in the middle of your 6th hour and you've got 6 hours more to go and everybody's getting hot, it's a little pissy and you're hungry or whatever, it's easier to kind of forget what's going on and, say things. A lot of crazy shit was said last year. I couldn't even believe all the weirdness that was said by some really long-term politicos that just blew me away. But it's almost like sometimes they don't want to fight as hard if like there's a bigger audience there because they don't want people to see which employees people are fighting for or not fighting for. So that was, I guess, my question just kind of on that. But
if I could touch on that,
sure.
if you were asking me this last year, I would say that's a definite possibility. Being in the room, and I never once have got that feeling with this council. Not one time I felt that they were holding back due to being on camera. Last year's council, I know for a fact that was an objection to the live streaming because of some of the things you just described. So if we were
Yeah.
talking about the last year's council, I'd say maybe, but I didn't get that vibe for this year's
Okay.
council. Could be wrong, but I didn't pick that up.
Okay.
I
And then-
thought everybody was being authentic.
Okay. And then just one more question about the live streaming before we get ready to drop this bomb. And I'm telling you, folks, if you're watching this and you live, work, or play in Delaware County, specifically if you work and pay taxes in Delaware County, or if you know anybody that does, now is the time to share this video and get them paying attention to this video. But this is a twofold type of a question. One, because I have a question here, and then a question that Annie just brought up is kind of leads into where you were going just a minute ago. Number one, I noticed that Piper has been taking little shots and making comments about the live streaming, you know, because they feel like enough people's not watching, or it's not worth it, or whatever. I mean, what's your feedback, or what do you think about how that's going? Because the county did have to pay for this year's. Well, the county is going to have to always pay for it, but you guys went to live streaming 2 years early. So, what's your thought on how that's been received by the council?
Well, you know, and I know what you're talking about there. Jessica's made a lot of references to people watching or not watching, and some people could interpret it as taking shots. It could be just a jovial personality making jokes. I'm not really sure. I'm not going to speculate on which side. But there were some comments made. You know, we'd brought up, you know, there's 35 people watching right now, and you know, somebody might say, well, 10 of them are in this room, which, you know, several people in the room did have it on. But I also know that there were people who were coming in who had said, I'd watched it all day yesterday, or hey, I was watching this earlier. People are texting me. I mean, I'm up there doing council business, and people are texting all day long, right? Ask about this, ask about that, or hey, you know, don't forget to ask about that, or what are they talking about in this situation? So then I might, you know, speak up to clarify something. So that happened a lot. It was almost like doing a live stream. People weren't understanding where we were going, so they text and ask something, and I could kind of spell that out for them in our commentary. And some of the other stuff that was said, like, you know, well, 3 seconds, you know, counts as a view, that kind of thing. All I can tell you is every time I looked, there were about 35 people on at all times throughout the entirety of the 3 days. That's not counting how many people watched it afterwards. I know last year, I don't know if many of your viewers know this, but last year the commissioners had agreed to fund this. And then when the news broke, you know, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but a lot of folks don't want to align with me on anything. I'm kind of an outlier, and I get that when you know, when you're me, people don't want to necessarily align with you. And that's what happens in the meeting. And that's why people text me and say they agree with me instead of speaking up. So I understand that's going to happen. So last year, the commissioners originally agreed to live stream it. And then when the publicity come out that we had got a victory, they rescinded that offer and said they weren't going to pay for it. Said it was all a big misunderstanding, but it wasn't. It was clear as day. They just rescinded the offer. So what I did was I pulled my phone out and I sit there for 12, 13-hour meetings throughout the day for 3 days straight, and I live streamed it myself from my council seat. And the difference is my live streaming only goes to my Ryan Webb for County Council Facebook page, right?
Yeah.
And I got about 2,800 followers. But if they would have been doing it on the Delaware County government page, we would have had a ton of followers, right? A ton of people watching. But just on my page, each video had between 700 and 1,500 views, and that was what I communicated this year and making my argument. People want this. I did it last year, and I had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people watching it, asking to watch it, saying that they seen something on there, and a lot of them were elected officials and county employees. So I don't care whether people could take their shots, make their comments. This was a victory having these budget meetings live streamed. I know for a fact people got a lot of value in it, especially county employees who couldn't be there, but they want to know what's going on because it affects their money, their livelihood. So I guarantee you, I mean, I wasn't in their office, but I can promise you there was more than a handful of county employees sitting at their desk doing their work with the earpiece in listening.
Yeah. So just a quick rundown. Day one, segment one, currently as where we are right now at 9:58 Friday evening. Day one, segment one, 375 views. Day one, segment two, 450 views. The 40-second day two clip had 35 views. Day two, segment one had 255 views. Day two, segment two had 360 views. And then the last day today, the segment one that was just one segment all day had 200. What?
And for me, I don't care if it had 5 views. It's
right.
It's worth it.
Yes.
And people who want to watch it, it's up to us as elected officials to meet the people where they're at.
Yes.
If that means they're sitting at home, I know one guy messaged me. He didn't message me, but I seen him comment and other things. He had to watch the whole damn thing because he knew everything that was going on. I would see him comment and message things. I think he was on your podcast.
Yes.
Or like commenting in your stuff, and he knew everything. So at first I thought, was this guy in the room?
Name.
Right, yeah. I didn't know if he was in the room, but turned out he just watched it all day.
Yeah.
So I know people are doing it.
Well, and I want to say this. Number one, just because it's only got 300 views right now doesn't mean it's not going to be watched over the next couple of weeks. You're still a couple days or weeks away from the vote, so they have the period to watch it between now and then. The other thing is, and I don't know, but if the Delaware County government would get out of this nonsensical boomer type of backwards ass thing that they're doing, and if they would tell their guy, we want to live stream it on YouTube and the Delaware County Facebook at the same time, they would have far more views, because a lot of people I know are going to the Delaware County website, Facebook. They're looking, it's not there, and they're like, "Oh, they're not doing it. Okay, we're done." And so they leave, and that's it, and that's that. And so what happens is they're not watching it live when they watch the rest of the stuff. Okay, and so what Delaware County is then doing is, at the end of the day, after they've done this, they're going back and they're posting the Facebook feed to to Delaware County's group. Well, some people might get on there and watch it, but they need to get back. It doesn't cost anymore to live stream it to Facebook too. They need to get on and they need to live stream it to Facebook and to YouTube. Right now, this video that we're watching is live streaming to YouTube. It's live streaming to Kristopher Bilbrey Facebook page. It's live streaming to the political Spotlight Facebook page. It is live streaming to Twitter, and it's got the capability to live stream to Truth Social, to Rumble, to Twitch. So you could live stream to 5, 6, 7 different things, and that's meeting the public where that is. That's comment number one on that. Comment number two is the fact that the prosecutor can sit in his office and work on crime and deal with all of that, okay, and do what he's got to do, or the sheriff can be working on what he's got to do and can sit there and watch it. The fact that the department heads can do their job and not have to be stuck down in the room all day, that right there is good enough just on its own. So this is a good thing, and I'm glad it's happening. And I just wanted to make sure. I'm glad that we said that. Before we move on, and these are the next kind of questions that move into the big news that you were getting ready to drop, is, can you ask, Annie's wanting to know, can you ask the council why the council doesn't request that the county submit a balanced budget? Why? I mean, that Annie's asked this several times, a couple different ways. Why are you guys...
Okay, I think I have an idea what you're asking.
Yeah.
And before I answer this, and and I know you and Kate are handling the questions. I would like to be able to answer as many questions as possible. I can't
Yeah.
see them, so hopefully we can get to everybody's questions. But so when you ask why are they not submitting a balanced budget? So what they're doing is they're submitting their wish list, right? Department heads and everybody, they're submitting their what they're wanting for their budget. It's now up to us as a council to balance that budget. That's what we're doing. We are in the process of balancing that budget. Come to find out, though, when they submitted their wish list and we looked at how much money we had, their wish list was several $1 million more than what we had, right? No one knew that going in. And the reason why it was so much, number one, yes, our revenue was lower, but number two, everybody took their shot, right? They saw the raises last year with the sheriff's department, which I was an integral part of making that happen. That was a real goal of mine, to increase the pay for our public safety officers, our sheriff's deputies, our correctional officers, our 911 dispatchers. And we did that last year. We gave them significant raises. We gave every county employee the biggest raise in the history of Delaware County, right? We did all that last year. So they all seen that. And they said, well, hell, if they're doing that, then let's take our shot, right? Let's go for it. So they're turning in a budget, which is super inflated. To give you an idea, before I got on the council, and even my first year on the council, the go-to old school way was $1,000 across the board to every county employee, which is nothing. I hated it. All the county employees hated it, right? So last year we gave them 5%. It's like $3 or $4 grand. That's per person, right? 2, 3, 4 grand. That's double, triple, 4 times as much as they're used to getting. So this year, some people stuck to that 4 or 5%. Some people, like the courts, they submitted budgets requests for 10%. Some people 50% salary increases, right? They were taking their shot. They were seeing what the hell they could get. They've also heard about all these new revenues with the jail inmates and with the, we got Can Pack Up online now and all those employees coming in and the revenue that brings in, all those things. So they thought this is our year to try to get our raises back. Problem is, we've been underpaying these employees for so long. Their wages have compounded on one another, and they're really poverty wages, in my opinion. Everyone needs to be making probably 50 grand. But we've got people making 32, 35 grand, and what they're trying to do is they're trying to get it all back in 1 year. And what I've said multiple times in this budget hearing, you can't throw a 21-point touchdown. You can't do it. Touchdowns come 6 points at a time. You might get to 21 points, but they got to go 6 points at a time. And some departments were trying to throw a 21-point touchdown and get all of their raises all in 1 year. So it wasn't that it was unbalanced. It was they were taking their shot. And now it's up to us to bring everyone back down from the moon to reality and say that's too far. We can't do it. So that's how that's working. And I hope that answers your question. If it doesn't, please feel free to ask another one.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you specifically answer when the council found out about this? I know you've said it kind of in here, but I mean, is it you found out about the major difference when you walked in on Wednesday morning?
Correct.
Is that when everybody found out about it?
I don't know, man. I'll be honest. In my personal opinion, is they don't really keep me on the loop on a lot of things. I feel like, and this is just my speculation. I mean, I could be totally wrong on this, but I feel like a lot of those members of the council know a lot of things that I don't know. They don't bring me in the loop until it's time for the council meetings, and I find out then. So I don't know. They may have found out that day too. I don't know.
Well,
all I can tell you is I found out that day.
Right.
Well,
and I want to make a real quick, just make sure people remember this. A while back, we became aware of the fact that the Delaware County Council, your cohorts had a meeting that they scheduled. You guys on the council, there's 7 of you. There's 7 council members, which for the record is Daniel Flanagan, Bill Hughes, Matt Kantz, Jim Mokel, Jessica Piper, you, Ryan Webb, and Eugene Whitehead. Those are the 7 council members, and you're all 7 Republicans. Along
Yes.
with that, up at the table sits the auditor, who is Ed Carroll. And not only is he the Republican auditor who's also up there, and not only is Jessica the Republican County Council president, but Ed is also the Republican Party president, and Jessica is the Republican Party vice president.
Right.
So they're all interconnected, and it's all very incestuous. But a while back, we found out that they were having a meeting while you and another council member were away, and they had this meeting that some people, myself included, and others submitted a complaint to the, I think the Star Press submitted a complaint to the public access counselor, and we got a ruling more or less back in our favor saying that what they were doing was wrong. So we know that these people are, and they never felt that they were wrong. They said that they were.
You're all right. I
you're
was
fine.
signaling my wife.
They said that they were, doing everything right, that it was a caucus, yada, yada, yada. So I don't have any knowledge that they have met any other time recently, but I don't have knowledge or proof that they haven't met. So they very well could have done that. And I think that kind of leads us into kind of where you were starting to go a moment ago. One of the things I'll say, I'm going to set you up and then you take it away. One of the things that's been very concerning is the judge. When the judge came in, and we talked about this the other night when we were talking about this, you weren't on, I think this was 2 nights ago. I showed what happened, and I said that the judge came in, and there's the court administrator that they're wanting to get a raise, this obscene raise for. Not that the court administrator's probably a lovely enough person, and she probably is a hard worker. I'm not saying anything about her as a person, whatever. Just the fact that this is a negotiation in a lot of ways. It's back and forth, but the judges are literally coming in and saying, we're going to order you by court action to do this, and you guys must pay her.
Mm-hmm.
And they were demanding a lot of different things, and the judge
and they did that.
And they did, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah, they did. They did give you the order that it is official. All 5 of the circuit court judges came together and said, yes, we're doing that. But he said something very concerning, and he said it multiple times, and that was, well, you guys don't have to be worried about making cuts and yada, yada, yada. You have a mechanism in which you can do all of this, and that is just increase the lit. And the lit tax is the local income tax. That's a tax. He wanted you guys to raise taxes. And that's something that started, that became more and more conversation. So now you take it away from there.
Okay, so real quick before I go any further, you were talking about with Ed, who's sitting at the desk with us, Ed Carroll. He is the chairman of the Republican Party, right? He's the auditor, or the treasurer. I'm sorry, no, the auditor.
No, he's the auditor.
So he's in there with us, right, when we're having these negotiations. Jessica is the vice chair of the party, right? She's the president of the council. So what you guys all have to understand is I'm an outsider in the Republican Party, right? I'm not in their circle. So when I'm making sense and using logic, it has to be a real stretch for any of these other fellow council members to get on board with me, because they're basically getting on board with me in front of the president and vice president, or the chairman and vice chairman of their party, right? Yeah. So it has to really be something they're passionate about for them to join the fight. That's why people text me in private and say, I agree with you, versus speaking up and saying, hey, I agree with him. They don't want to get in trouble from mom and dad, right? So I thought that was important to notate when you've got the chairman and vice chairman in the room.
Yeah.
This is part of the reason why we can't get any progress when I'm making these valid points. But to go back to what you said, yes, the judge, and by the way, Judge Cannon is the representative of the 5 judges, right? He's there as their as their voice, but it's all 5 of them. And pardon me. And they issued that order got an obscene amount. And put this in perspective, right? This employee's salary went up 47% to $80,000. Our deputy prosecutors have a college degree, a law degree, and they passed the bar, and they're making $85,000. Hardly no other county employees got any raise whatsoever. That did not stop them judges from issuing that order. They didn't care about any of that. They wanted their person to make 80 grand. They didn't give a damn that we didn't have the money to do it, right? They didn't care. And the only way they can be held accountable is they have to run for re-election too. So for those of you who want to know how can we hold people accountable for that, they have to be elected as well. So
Yes.
we did not do that as a council. But what they said was, you guys have a mechanism to do this. You can raise the lit tax. Currently, the lit tax, local income tax, used to be called the LOIT, which is a local option income tax. It's a current tax that everyone pays if you work or live in Delaware County. It's about $10 a week if you make $1,000. For every $1,000, about $10. And we currently would pay sheriff's deputies, 911 dispatchers, right? Public safety. Well, the Indiana General Assembly passed a law and said, guess what, guys? We are now going to allow you to increase that lit tax. I think it's still like 2.5%. And you can now also pay your court employees. Because we're mandating their salaries and making you pay more salaries, we're going to give you a mechanism to help you pay for that. However, it's on you to increase the tax. So you've got to take all the heat from the public for raising the tax, right? And I've been fundamentally opposed to that. I come into this budget meeting saying I'm going to lower the lit tax. We pay 1.5% in Delaware County. The lowest in the county is 0.41%. I wanted to lower the lit tax to be the lowest lit tax in the state, right? And make it 0.40%, right? Well, that's out the window now. And so that's the judge's answer to this is raise the tax. That was another blow up that we had yesterday because I said, there's not a chance in hell I'm raising taxes. I'm not doing it. Actually, I can't remember. That might have been today. It might have been today. I can't remember when it was because this is all ran together. But during that conversation, I got to be honest. I mean, I'm going to report the facts here. And I heard him talking about, the deadline for the lit tax and what we'd have to do to increase the lit tax. And my mind immediately went to, why the hell are we even talking about this? We're all 7 Republicans. Republicans don't raise taxes. This is a non-issue for me because I don't give a damn what the details are because I'm not raising it. Right? So as I'm hearing this, I'm hearing them talk and I'm realizing that they're discussing here in the lit tax. So once it became my turn to talk, I said, this is a non-issue. I'm not raising taxes. I don't give a damn what we got to do. I'm not doing it. I am not going to put the burden on the hardworking people of Delaware County and raise their income tax, the working people, by the way, to pay some court employees a higher salary. I'm not doing it. Flat out, not going to do it. It is our job. At that time, the court administrator interrupted me and said, well, how do you propose to get here? I said, that's what we're here to do. That's what we're doing. That's our job as county council members to make the tough decisions. That's why I've been trying to cut numbers all day long for the last 2 days because I know I need to get there without raising taxes. Well, I kind of laid the groundwork for any other council member to declare that they weren't going to raise taxes, and nobody took me up on that. And after hearing Jessica talk a little bit longer, I finally interrupted her. I said, if I'm hearing you right, and I got to be hearing this wrong, there's no way I'm hearing this right. Am I hearing you say that you're considering raising taxes? You're open to raising taxes? Like, well, what world are we in here? People are suffering from inflation and everything, and you're considering raising taxes? And she immediately shot back and said, I'm not considering it. I'm listening.
Yeah.
Which to me is the same thing. Right?
Yeah,
if I'm not considering it, I don't need to listen to it. And you could have knocked me over with a feather at that point. I was blown away. Well, that really still didn't dawn on me that much because I told you a second ago, everyone was talking about the tax. I was so shocked that we were discussing it. I wasn't even listening to what was being said. After this meeting was over, I went back and watched the tape from that moment. And I heard Vice President Bill Hughes talking about some of the deadlines that are in play for when you have to file to raise the lit tax for it to kick
Yes.
in. I think the deadline they were talking about was like August. So if you raise the lit tax, it has to be done by August for it to kick in the next year. We're already past August, so it would have to be next August. It wouldn't even kick in until 2025. So it wouldn't even help this year's budget.
Right.
And then I started hearing Ed Carroll, the chairman, speak up and say, well, keep in mind, I was in the room when all this happened, but I just didn't hear it. And he says, well, me and Ben, who's the council attorney, we were talking about this yesterday, and he's going to look into it with the DLGF of what tell you. So I immediately, and real quick before I back up for a second, when I come home and told my wife about struggling to get everybody on board with this, and telling her this conversation about raising taxes, my wife immediately and someone else I talked to told me, sounds like they've had a meeting without you. Sounds like they've talked about this and you weren't included in the conversation and everybody's on board. I never entered my mind in these 3 days of negotiations, but in that moment, it made sense to me why I've the only one been fighting like hell to make all these cuts and why no one seems too concerned with it, because I've been driving myself crazy. Why the hell is nobody trying to make these cuts? Why is it like no big deal? And then when I heard those guys all talking about, well, we talked about it yesterday. We talked to the attorney about it. He's going to find out more. That told me everything I need to know. Someone's clearly talked about it. I'm not going to make the allegation that everyone in the group's talked about it at the same time. But there's been conversations behind the scenes about raising this lit tax that I wasn't a part of, and they know that because they know my position on it. They know that there's no way in hell I'm going to agree to it. But I was blown away, and then that made all the pieces fall into place, and everything made a lot more sense. And I hate to, for everybody listening, I hope this don't come true, but I'm worried and fearful that that's going to be the plan, is to increase the lit tax. And I'm telling you, as you're watching here, I will never vote for that, ever. But I'm one person. I get outvoted 6-1 all the time.
Well,
and I don't know if it'll be any different.
Ryan, I'll tell you, I don't know. I mean, you know, for all of the detractors out there that are like, oh, they're connected at the hip, they're connected, blah blah blah. Like I said, that's not true. That said, I think that we both had the same thinking at the same time, because I've literally been watching these meetings these last few days, and I've felt exactly like you. I've not understood what was going on. I've not understood where they were at, why they weren't willing to do something. And I've just thought, man, something else has got to be up. And then when the judge said it the other day, I didn't think much about it. He just said it, and I thought, that's crazy. Well, then I heard them talking today, and I thought, holy shit, they are pushing this lit, and literally everybody's talking about it. And that is exactly what I thought today. Before I ever spoke to you, I thought something is going on. They're pushing this lit. They're considering this lit push. And then it dawned on me, hell, they just have a meeting without you, or they get on the phone and they call everybody and say, hey, this is what we're doing. And, you know, you find out about it because they know you're going to vote no on it. You are going to vote no. I believe.
And they know I'm going to tell everybody.
Yeah.
Hey, they're planning on raising your taxes. Right? I'm going to tell y'all. All right. I'm going to let you know. I'll go even further than that. Once I had this epiphany and it made sense to me, not because I thought of it, because the people around me could see more clearly. I was blinded by the shock of it all. The people close to me were able to say, hey, this is probably what they're doing. And once those people close to me said that, then I'm like, damn it, you're probably right. Well, I started making some calls and taking more calls. I've been getting calls all day long since I left. Matter of fact, my wife's been mad at me. She said, you need to sit down and relax and just chill. My phone's been ringing and ringing and ringing. And I've spoken to a couple of city council candidates, and I'm not going to out them who they are, but I was told that deal's been made. I can already tell you, I already know that they're going to raise the lit tax. I know how much they're going to raise it by, and I know what month they're going to do it. That deal's been made. And I
Yes.
asked the question, I said, how the hell do you know that? And I haven't heard a thing about it. And my council is the one who has to do it. And I was told by this person that when the local unions, like the firefighters union, the police union, they do interviews with all the city council candidates to offer their endorsement. And
Pause real quick, folks. Right now, what he's talking about is kind of like a really weird like segue, because what he's now not talking about county government. You got to understand right now, outside of this deal the county's doing, what he's been talking about, the city is currently right now in an election period. We've been talking about that on the show. We're getting ready to do candidate interviews, yada, yada, yada. Okay. So those people that are getting ready to run for election, the city council, his counterpart and their counterparts on the city, they also have the ability to raise the lit tax. And because it's city county and the city falls in the county, if the county does it, it benefits the city. If the city does it, it benefits the county. It affects us all. It is what it is. So what he, and I can confirm what he's saying. I have also heard this from candidates running. You know, you can finish that out. But yes, this is kind of on the other side of the fence now into the city. But that he's talking about city, not his people, because they're not up for election, but the current people who are running this November.
Yeah, and I'm glad you made that point. And for those to increase the lit tax, it's not the city does it, it's not the county. It's we all have a percentage of a vote. The county council, I think the commissioners, the city council, even the towns and boards, we all total up 100%. So I'm not sure the math of it, but I think if the city council unanimously did it, they control 59% of the vote. I think off the top of my head. Don't hold me to that number. But getting back to what I said, when apparently what I was told by people who sat through these interviews, they were told point blank, if you want our endorsement, I need your commitment that you're going to raise this lit tax, because that lit tax goes to public safety. These are public safety firefighters, police department units who that money's coming to them. So they're telling these candidates, if you want our endorsement, I need your commitment that you will agree to raise that lit tax. So any of these candidates who are showing you their endorsement from these unions, they've committed to raising your lit tax. That's the only way they got that endorsement, is what I was told. So I was told that this deal's been made, that the leadership of the council, my council, I haven't confirmed it, but I was told the leadership of my council's met with these unions, met with representatives of the city, and deals have been cut. And the idea is January, February, raising this lit tax. And I mean, I was shocked by it. I couldn't believe it. We're 7 Republicans don't raise taxes, so I couldn't believe it. And honestly, in my opinion, it's a chicken shit way out. It's an easy way to fix the budget deficit. Instead of us going through and making the hard decisions, eliminating positions, and there are positions that can be eliminated, right? I'm not saying get rid of an employee who's currently working hard. I'm talking about if you have a department that has 2 open positions, they're trying to hire someone. I'm saying let's eliminate those 2 positions that are open before you get someone in. That'll save about $70,000 per person, right? By the time you factor in benefits and everything else. We have to get back to making those types of decisions. And instead of making those types of decisions, I'm fearful that the easy way out, which would be to raise the lit tax, is where we're going. I hope I'm wrong. I do, but I definitely don't feel comfortable with it.
Yeah,
and the shitty part is I'm going to get drugged down with the rest of them, because when everybody's bitching and mad and pissed about the council raising the lit tax, they're not going to also mention, oh, by the way, Ryan was against it. I'm going to get to catch all the heat just like they are, right? And I'm adamantly opposed to it. So that's just the world we live in.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. And so a couple people that are on here saying, you know, so what does this mean? Ridenour got an endorsement from these unions. Well, Ridenour as mayor doesn't vote, but it's a big
He's got influence.
It's a big thing that for him to use that influence. If he tells his council people that are on there now for him, or those that are running, if you win, you're going to do this, then hell yeah, he has influence, and he definitely does. And so the big question here now is, because in hearing this and seeing it went on like a light bulb today after I listened to them have this discussion. And I was like, dude, they're literally talking about this like they all know what's going on. And the only person losing his mind is Ryan. There's got to be something up with this. And then it just clicked, and it's like, oh God, they've done this. Well, I have reached out to a couple various sources, and I have asked, what's the deal with this? And I have got confirmation back that this is a thing, that they have made a pact with people to do this. And it's going to be interesting, because if the city side does it, it'll be another 4 years before there's elections. People's memories will fade. But what's going to happen is they're going to do this in January, and Ryan and Eugene and Piper are up for re-election. So in my opinion, everybody's seeing Ryan as fighting this, so he shouldn't get that stink on him. He might have some other, but he's not going to get that. What I think happens is, if they do this, and if this deal was made and it's 100%, that has to be Jessica Piper's exit stage left button, because that's unimaginable to me.
Well, I don't know. I don't know what the voters would do. Jessica's always been a very high vote getter. So there may be some who do that, but I don't know. She gets a lot of votes. She's always in second behind Scott. Scott's not there now, so who knows? But I can confirm my own experience as a county councilman. I'm not gonna, again, I don't out who I talk to in private conversations, but I could tell you with 100% sincerity that for the last 2 years I have had a couple different city council members lobbying me to introduce a motion to increase the lit tax. And I was against it. And I said, why are you, if you feel so strongly about it, you do it. And the argument there was, the county's going to benefit from this lit tax increase. We as city council members don't want to make the motion, take all the shit from the public who's mad about it, and then you guys in the county benefit from it. So they were wanting me to do it. And I said, that's a you problem. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not doing it. So I know for a fact, because they lobbied me for the last 2 years, I know they've been lobbying other people.
Right.
And I can tell you that from my own personal experience. I'm not going to tell you who it was, but you can take my word. There were 2 city council members. So
he's definitely, he's true. He's definitely true. So
I see Annie's question. I'm not going to say. I keep my private conversations private. I can tell you what was said, but I can't tell you who said it. Sorry.
I will let me do some digging. I've got another couple of weeks here, and I'm going to start coming out with my thoughts on these candidates that are running. And I think people are going to be interested on where I fall on a bunch of things, but that some of this stuff might come out in some of those questions. So we'll find out what goes on there. Ryan, we've had you on here for a while. I just want to, I don't want to hold you all night. Let me ask you this. Knowing what we know, seeing what we see, number one, what's the next step from here?
Well, after we, so just so you know, we didn't have our full team today.
Well,
and you guys
yes.
You saw that clip when they were saying, we'll get to this. And I said, we're not even going to have everybody tomorrow. I already knew that Councilmember Cant had to go out of town for some other arrangement that he had. I'm assuming he had it scheduled in advance. But we also didn't have our attorney today. And from what I understand, he wasn't there today due to the mayor's golf outing. I don't know what that's about. I'm not sure, but our attorney wasn't there neither. So it's now been scheduled for Thursday. And let me give you the details of that, right? So I just took all week off. We didn't get done what we need to get done, so they scheduled for Thursday. And the initial comment was, well, what about 3 o'clock? And, I said, well, I'll have to be a little late to that. I can't make it in by 3 o'clock. My wife just had surgery. I'm the only one working right now. I just took a whole week off unpaid. I can't miss another day. So I'll be coming into that late. How late you going to be? Probably an hour or two. Okay. Well, what do you guys think about 1 o'clock then? So it went from 3 o'clock and me being late an hour or two to now it's 1 o'clock. So now I'm going to be late like 5 hours, right? Like 4 or 5 hours. So by the time I get there, who knows where the hell they're going to be at. But the meeting is now scheduled for Thursday at 1 o'clock. So, and I was prepared to go till 10, 11 o'clock Thursday if we could have started, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, whatever. I said I could stay as late as possible. I just can't get here till 4 or 5 o'clock. Now, I'm not saying everything should revolve around my schedule. That's part of the reason why I was trying to get this stuff done now, because I knew I couldn't take another day off. But yeah, that's when we're coming back, 1 o'clock Thursday. But I will not be there until later on that day.
Yeah, I just think that that's interesting that they would seem like they had like, a small issue with the fact that you were like, I'm going to be a few hours late. And then that went from, oh, well, that sucks to, okay, well, then we'll go even earlier so you miss even more. But,
no.
I mean, by the end, at the bottom line, they know where you stand on everything. I don't feel like they're, I don't see how this is going to do anything.
Well, with that being said, though, they know where I stand on the cuts. But there were some raises in there that I was advocating for, that they were in opposition to me as well. So, and I guess it's still someone close to me suggested, can you maybe Zoom? That's possible. I might still be able to Zoom in, right? But let me give you a real quick example. Yes, they know I want to cut some things. There are also some raises in there, and I'll give you an example. I told you about the county general fund where a lot of this is. So let's say you have a team of 5 people and 4 people are paid out of county general, right? Which is where your property taxes go and this and that. Well, a lot of these departments, such as the clerk, the recorder, certain ones, the courts, they have a whole nother account, if you will, a fund that may be paid out of they call it a perpetuation fund. And it's kind of like a giant slush fund, but the money just continues to accumulate, gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and it can only be used on certain things. It has very strict restrictions on how it can be spent, right? But a lot of the times they have moved employees into this fund, right? So you have 5 employees. They may pay 4 of them out of the general fund. They'll have that 5th employee paid out of this fund. Well, in this fund, there's no problem with the budget. There's plenty of money in there, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if we cut it because it's not helping the other ones. They have that money in there already. They've got it from user fees or whatnot. So we can cut it, but then the money just sits in the account, right? So in this fund, they put in a raise for that employee, those 2024 raises. I made the argument, let's not cut that raise. Let's give that employee the raise. And the reason I made that argument is I know it sucks that we can't give these other 4 people the raise. I hate it, right?
Yeah.
But part of the reason we're in this problem of having these employees that are so underpaid is because for so long, the council gave $1,000 across the board raises because they didn't feel like it would be fair to give this department a $4 raise and this department a $1 raise, right? So what they did was $1,000 across the board. It sucked. And what that led to was way, way underpaid people, right?
Yeah.
I feel like this situation I'm describing is the exact same scenario. The council voted against me on this, and they said, I don't think it's right to give this one person a raise if we can't give those other 4 a raise. And I'm making the argument is, I know it sucks, but we're trying to move forward and get our wages where we need to go. We shouldn't stop progress over here with this one employee just because we can't do it for everybody else. We can do it over here. So let's do it. If we
Yeah.
hold up for the sake of holding up for equity, which I'm not a fan of equity. Everybody who knows
Right.
me knows I think equity's a scam. But if we do that, now next year, we've basically wasted a year that we could have moved forward. We've compounded the problem, right? And I was outvoted, right? Nobody's seen eye to eye with me. The very next freaking line item was a similar situation in the courts. There's 5 employees, and the court administrator's arguing to give this one employee a raise, and everybody's on board with it. And I said, I can't help but point out this is the same damn thing I was just lobbying for 10 minutes ago. And you've got 4 employees, you don't get nothing, and you're saying, let's give this employee something. The feedback I got was, well, Ryan, this employee's a director, and there's only one of them in that office. The raise you wanted to give was to a clerk, and there were 5 clerks. So they're all equal. I guess it makes it feel better that if that person's a different rank, that person only
Yeah.
getting a raise. So, again, couldn't wrap my head around that. Didn't make no damn sense to me. But, again, I was outvoted 6-1. So, dude, I don't even know. I mean, it just didn't make any sense. I tried. If you guys are county employees and you're watching, I tried to get you your raises when we could. So,
Well,
just one guy.
that it's very frustrating to watch. The other thing that really frustrated me today was, like you said, there were some people that were MIA, and like, look, I don't care. I understand that Matt Cant's had to work. I mean, he put in a lot of long hours into this. I definitely get what he was doing. I have no issue with the fact that he needed to do what he needed to do. It is what it is. And while I personally am not a fan of the attorney, I'm just not a fan of Mr. Beeman. No, what's his name?
Freeman.
Freeman.
He's actually been pretty critical this budget session. He's been very helpful, but I understand your position.
He's been good with the budget session for you guys, and I definitely understand that. I'm just coming from the point of view of saying, like, I just take issue with things that he's done elsewhere within the council, and I guess one of my complaints is the fact that he acts less like a legal counsel, and he's acting more like, like somebody that's, a political ally in there or whatever. And so I'm not a big fan of that. And so I've had issue with that. Well, the mayor of Muncie did have a golf outing today, and the golf outing was very, very strange because, again, it's like during the workday, and a lot of those things are. I don't know why they don't have these things on Saturdays or whatever, but they hold them on Friday, and this is the second time I think that this mayor has done this. And a couple people, said, hey, it was weird because Ben was supposed to be in the budget meetings today, but he was at this golf outing. And I have heard that. Now, I didn't catch him in any pictures yet. I'll be looking. But I did catch this picture, and I know it's a little grainy, but basically this is your entire city of Muncie government. Like, I don't know if they shut City Hall down today and they just didn't do any work in City Hall, or what the deal is, but here they all are, ready to tee off or whatever they were doing. Here they are having fun. So good for them for having a good golf day on a Friday, whatever. But I just thought it's very interesting that you guys are having this budget process. You guys are a new council. per se, the majority of you are new, and it would have been helpful to have been there, but yet he's off playing hooky to play some golf. I just thought that was very telling.
Yeah, I mean, and I've heard your criticism of him before, and Ben has been more vocal than what Bill has been in the past. But I can say in this budget session, I think he's really just kept to himself and waited when he's been asked. He's then
Yeah,
volunteered his
I can
opinion.
dig that.
I don't really think much in this budget session he ever offered anything other than when he was asked.
Yeah.
And when he was asked, he could give information.
Sure.
I do want to say real quick, I think I would just be. I think this is worth pointing out. Part of the problem with this budget, I got two things to say in this comment, is to give you guys an understanding. We want to have a $6.5 million balance when we start the year next year, right? They call it our operating balance. Okay. Every appropriation that we do this year, and when I say appropriation, I mean we did a budget last year for this year, but a department head may come to us at a council meeting and ask for another 50,000, another 100,000, 20,000, 2,000, whatever. They're asking for money outside of what they were already given for their 2023 budget, right? This year, up to this point, this council has appropriated $800,000 in requests, right? We're 8 months in, $100,000 a month. This time last year, different council, we had only done 400,000. Okay. So when you're talking about revenue, lack of revenue, that's one part of the problem. We also got to talk about, we say yes way too much. We say yes damn near to everything. If someone comes in and asks for it, we say yes. I said part of my New Year's resolution this last January, I'm saying no more often. And I've been putting that to practice. I've been saying no all year long. If you guys go back and watch the meetings, a lot of these big requests, I've been saying no. I've been getting outvoted 6-1 and 5-2, but I've been saying no. And now we're in this jam where we've appropriated too much money. So what that means is that's $6.5 million that we have to start the year with next year. Going forward the rest of the year, and every appropriation up to this point, every dollar that we appropriate comes out of that $6.5 million. So it's not only that this budget is multiple $1 million over. We still got 4 months left in the year where people are going to come to us asking for more money. Every penny we give them comes out of next year's budget, right? So I made a motion, wasn't a motion. We weren't allowed to make motions. I made a request to put a freeze on any new appropriations for the rest of the year, right? It's got to be, we got to go over with a fine tooth comb for us to say yes, right? So basically, I want to put a stoppage to it and basically block 95% of them, just the ones that absolutely have to go through. And I was told we could talk about that at the next council meeting, right? But I think it's important for people to understand the voting record and who's voting for what. And the reason why I bring that up, when we gave those sheriff's raises last year, and the court administrator, they wanted that raise. The court administrator didn't get it in the form of a raise, but she did get she got 90% of it in the form of stipends. The judges gave up like $15,000 worth of their own stipends to give to this court administrator. So even though her salary went from $54,000 this year to $80,000, which is crazy, last year the judges also gave her $15,000 because the council wasn't willing to increase her salary. So what they did was said, okay, we'll give it to her out of our money. Council agreed to that. Well, that pissed a lot of people off last year, and that was only like $70,000. So you know how mad they are now at $80,000, right?
Yeah.
So when that happened, I said this. I said, if we do this, everybody is going to come with their hand out wanting money. And when they do, We have to stand strong and say no. Okay? Okay. So we did it. Fast forward 3 months. 3 months. Maybe 4 months tops. Prosecutor comes to us. Prosecutor Hoffman with a doom and gloom story. His guys are underpaid. And they were. But he sold the council on the fact that if we don't give them this massive pay increase, it was like 30 grand if I remember off the top of my head. And I could be wrong on that number. It is a lot. To 85,000. I cannot continue prosecuting cases in this county. And by the way, the state law says I get to determine what I need to run my department. And I am telling you, I need them to be paid this amount to run my department. And if you don't give it to us, I will sue the county. That scared all the council members. They were scared shitless. Let's give them the money. I said, then let him sue us. He'll have to explain to the citizens why he's suing you, the taxpayers. And I also said, I have a hard time believing that they can't prosecute cases. They're on the verge of collapsing. And we suddenly increase their salaries. And like that, they can suddenly prosecute cases again the next day. That didn't pass the smell taste for me. I'm from the streets. Okay. That's bullshit. Right. And I said it then. And I said, guys, I said this 3 months ago when we gave them raises out. I said everyone was going to come running with their hand out. I agreed that the prosecutor needed the money. I said it's not the right time. You have to wait till the budget session, which is now.
Right.
I also said that first person who comes to us and challenges us, we have to hold the line to set the tone for everyone else. No, you're just because we gave them the money, don't mean we're going to give it to you. I said that. What the hell did this council do? Folded like a lawn chair and gave them the money. 5-2. Eugene voted with me. Right?
Yeah,
5-2.
right.
And we gave them the money. So now what happens? Now here we are in the budget meetings. Guess what's happened? Right? Here comes the judge telling us if we don't give his court administrator 80 grand, he's going to sue us. Not just him. Public defender shows up and says if we don't give his chief deputy, I think it was like 18 grand or something like that increase. It's like a 40% increase, that he would be forced to report to the commission. We get I think a 60% reimbursement from the state, but we have to be in compliance for what's acceptable. And if we didn't give this person that money, he'd be forced to tell those people. And more than likely, they would rule us ineligible for our reimbursement. So, like I predicted, sure enough, here they all come, one after another, asking for money and trying to blackball us and strong arm us into giving it to them. And I know Council Member Cant said, I don't agree with it, called a strong arm. What the hell else do you call it?
I don't know what else you call it.
If you're saying, if you don't give me this money, this is what I'm going to do to you, that's a strong arm.
Yeah.
So that's where we are, guys. I said no at the beginning. I've said no over and over and over. Everyone else has said yes. And now everybody wants their piece of the pie.
Well, I'm just going to throw out this little thought here. In the real world, in the criminal justice system, policing world, people all the time talk about threats and harassment and intimidation and shit like that. And people all the time call the police and say, I'm being threatened. And the police get there and they say, what did you say? And they say, well, he's telling me he's going to kick my ass. He's going to kill me. Well, look, in the state of Indiana, how the law is written, it is not illegal for me to say, Ryan, I'm going to kick your ass. I can tell you that all day long.
Oh, that's good, because I got a lot of people on my list. So I'm glad you told me that. And I hope you're all watching.
What's Jesus? What is illegal is when I say, I'm going to kick your ass if you don't. So what happens is when you do something to put someone in threat of fear of retaliation of some event happening, that is a threat. Matter of fact, I'll take you back to the budget time last year. You remember when there was
I know where you're going.
who told Fred, you better not say that, because if you do that, we'll take your blah, blah, blah away. Well, the prosecutor got pissed because he said,
I remember.
I think I just heard a crime, and so that's what it is. So it's funny.
It's it's coercion under duress. You're placing him under duress. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. But in the state of Indiana, that's how the threats law is written up. And so it's just funny to me that the judge can come in and say, you're going to do this or else. And it's like, hey, that's the way it's got to be. But everybody else, that would be like a crime. So I just think that that's really kind of telling. I don't know what you guys are going to do. I've heard a lot of people say, well, so what are you going to do? You're going to cut $40,000 from the court, from somewhere else in the court to make up for that? Like the cable TV. Tell me, the judges have cable TV?
They do. That was actually my goal. I was looking at everything, even to changing the court administrator's job title so that order wouldn't be valid. And I didn't really get any cooperation from the other councilors. Now, this is a funny story because at lunchtime, we're all talking and everybody's on board with me. Like, yeah, we're not doing that. And I even said, because I've been through this, I've seen this movie before. Everybody talks real tough. And then when it gets time to get down to business, everybody all of a sudden gets real quiet. And I'm the one, doing all the arguing. And I said, out of all of us council members, I'm probably the only one who's ever likely to ever go in front of these judges. So I don't want to be the one to piss them off. So I need all of you to be with me on this. And yeah, okay. Then when it comes time to do it, it was me.
It was silent.
Yeah, nobody else say anything. So
God, you turn around and no one's back there.
Yeah. We did hold out on the stipends for the new judges, but the current judges got their full $5,000 back. And
of course they did.
And court administrator got $80,000, and to her credit, she could give a shit less who's mad about it. She's got $80,000. So
yeah.
I got to give her. I can't knock her for that. She's gonna take her shot too.
Are you in compliance with state law on salaries?
Could you clarify? I don't know what you mean by that. For salaries for what?
I don't know. She said, are you in compliance with state law on salaries? I guess meaning by, man, I don't know.
Well, if you're talking about the employees where are state mandated that the salaries increased, then yes, we automatically did those. We couldn't not do it. If you're talking about everybody else's salaries, we have made a commitment. We started this last year. We found there are a couple people making less than $30,000, and we made a commitment. If we want to take pride in our community, we can't be paying people poverty wages. And to me, under $30,000 is poverty wages. Now, part of that is we had some of last year's council. We had 3 council members who had been in local government for 30, 40 years. In their mind, $10 an hour is still a lot of money, right? And so now, at least with this new council, they recognize that $30,000 is not enough, right? So yeah, we're getting that up. I think there were one that fell through the cracks last year, come in this year like 28, and we unanimously immediately said up that to 30 minimum. Even though everybody's not getting raises and we got to cut a lot, we had to get that one above 30. We don't want no one making less than $30,000. Period.
Okay.
But I'm not sure what the context of that question was.
I think that's that. Well, very good. I appreciate your time. Is there anything else you want to say to everybody before we wrap up here?
The only thing I'll say is that this is how the sausage is made, guys. And if you're upset about your taxes, if you're upset about the property taxes, the wheel tax, the income tax, this is where it's set. Not only does the county council set the budget, we set the tax rate. And I mentioned this in a post the other day. Last year, the county council lowered I know I got some critics out here challenging me on this. We lowered the property tax rate in Delaware County. We, in essence, lowered your property taxes. However, the county assessor, following the program set by the state, they increased all of your assessed value up so much. I think mine went up $40,000. So your property taxes went up, not because we raised them, because
Yeah.
the value of your house was assessed so much higher,
Yeah.
right? It went up. So I think it's important for people to know we're trying to make these cuts where needed. But yeah, this is where it's done. So if you're one of those people who complain about taxes, you complain about budgets, and you complain about your services, your public safety, you really got to pay attention to these budget meetings. This is where it's at. And if you haven't watched yet, and I don't blame you if you haven't, it's 12 hours. It's tough to even if you did tune in for an hour, odds are you didn't catch all the
Yeah.
important stuff, right? You had to have caught it at that right moment. I would urge you to tune in on Thursday, even though I'm going to be late. I'm hoping that my fellow council members start doing what needs to be done until I get there, and you can see what's being done. If they don't, this is even more important for you to watch. You need
Yeah.
to see what they're doing. You need to see, are they doing what's necessary, what we get paid to do, what we were elected to do, make the tough decisions, the unpopular decisions. Traditionally, elected officials don't want to piss off the county employees. There's 500 of them, because for every county employee, they reach out and touch like 10 other people, right?
Yes, sir.
So there's 500 employees, but when you talk about they control 10 other people, that's 5,000 votes, right?
That's 5,000
So
votes.
right. So elected officials don't want to piss off the county employees. So are they going to make the cuts necessary? I don't know, but you need to be watching to find out if the people you've elected are doing what's necessary to protect your tax money, or are they doing what's necessary to not offend 500 employees? And I don't want to offend them either, but raising the lit tax is not the answer, and I'm absolutely opposed to it. And honestly, I'm gonna say one more thing. I'd encourage every one of you watching this to tell 10 people you know to reach out to your county council members, all 7 of them, me included, and email them. And I hope, Chris, you'll post everyone's emails in the comments or something.
Yes.
And you let them know, and you let your city council members know. You are absolutely fundamentally opposed to a lit tax increase. You are opposed to any tax increase. People are struggling to get by. They're struggling to pay for their medicines. They're struggling to pay for their groceries, their utilities. The last thing the citizens of Delaware County need is another freaking tax shoved down their throat or another tax increase. So you contact us and you let us know that you're not going to take it. So that's all I got to say. And remember, when you vote, that I'm against it. I'm against it. All right. No matter what happens, I'm against it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I guess while I'm typing this up here real quick, Annie asked one other question. Just in a quick blurb, how would you go about, how do you think you'd go about cutting the 1.7 million?
Well, for me, when we first got started, the first thing that I wanted to do was take all departments that have an open position and eliminate that open position flat out right off the bat. Again, I should reiterate this. I'm not talking about cutting people's jobs. I'm talking about that employee's already left, that position sitting there. They haven't hired anyone new yet to fill it. I'm saying eliminate that, because obviously the office is running without that person. They've proven they can do that job. I'll give you a quick example. When I started as a quality inspector at Progress Rail, there were 4 quality inspectors, right? When I left, I was the only one. I was doing the work that 4 of us used to do. And every time one of them left and they put responsibilities on the rest of us, we would all say, there's no way we can do this. We can. And I definitely said that when I was the last one. I said, I can't do the work that 4 people were doing. Well, it was a lot of work for the first 3 months, but I adjusted and I did it. And what I'm saying is these county departments can do the same thing. So I would say immediately, let's cut those positions that are open. The second thing that I would do, they want to start the budget year with $6.5 million operating balance. I would take $1.5 million of that operating balance immediately, and I would knock it down to $5 million and start there. In 2020, we started with $5 million. and we did just fine. So I think with 5 million, we can still get through the year and pay our bills and do everything that's just fine. So that's the first thing I would do. I'd take $1.5 million from there. That would get 1.5 million, and I would cut the open positions to get to the other 200,000. Because an employee, let's say an employee makes 35,000, basically rule of thumb, you double that salary, because by the time you figure in their health benefits, life insurance, it's about double. So an employee making 35,000 is really 70,000 off the budget, right? So you get 5 employees there, that's 350,000 just right there in five employees. So that's the way I would do it. That's how I was wanting to do it. Whether they listen to me and go with it, we'll see.
That's definitely interesting. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. Let me ask you, I want to make sure that I've got everybody here. Just double checking.
Real fast while you're doing that, before you go any further,
Yeah.
I'd floated another option that would reduce the property tax rate and the income tax rate. As you know, property tax affects homeowners. Income tax affects the workers, right? I've been kicking around this idea in my head. Currently, the state of Indiana sales tax is 7%, right? There's also a county sales tax. Most people don't know it. We have it set at 0%, right? I kicked around the idea of reducing the property tax and the income tax, taking that difference and increasing the sales tax for the county by like maybe a half of a penny. So instead of your sales tax being 7% on the 7 cents on the dollar, it'd be 7.5 cents on the dollar. And the reason why I'm saying that is it's not to increase that, it's to spread the tax burden more evenly amongst everyone in the county. Instead of taxing the homeowner and just the worker, which is what we're doing now, I've been kicking around the idea of spreading that over everybody in the county who makes a purchase through a half-cent sales tax. Now, I don't have any support on that. I don't think anyone's interested in doing that, because people would see it as a tax increase because you're raising the sales tax, even though you're decreasing it in property tax and income tax. That's just the way people would perceive it. So I don't think there's support for that, but that's an idea as well, and then everyone helps shoulder the load. So that's another idea.
Sure, absolutely. And so of the new council folks that are on, are there any of the new people that you feel are working? I mean, are you having any more coming over your way, or is it all still, are we basically still in the same boat that we were with the, it's just a 6-to-1 situation and that's it and that's that?
Well, I think if I understand the question right, I think we're still most of the time in the 6-to-1. However, I'm very optimistic. There are several council members who ask a lot of tough questions. They don't just accept the status quo. Eugene specifically is very good. He's even sided with me on a couple votes, and it was 5-2. He's very good at asking the questions. If he doesn't get the answer he wants, he doesn't just accept it. He says that doesn't make any sense, or that's not a good answer, or whatever. And I gotta say, Jim's kind of right in that boat as well. Jim asks a lot of questions. He's another one. If they just try to like dance around the question and give him some bullshit answer, he'll say, "Okay, you didn't answer the question. I need. Let me ask it again." So I gotta say, Jim, between Jim and Eugene, they're both asking really, really good questions. Eugene's proven that he's willing to go against the majority. And then Bill just brings a ton of knowledge as being a former council attorney. He has a ton of knowledge. And I got to say, all of them are much better at wording their opposition to something than I am. I tend to just be some guy from Southside who's very blunt. If I see something, I say it how it is. Those guys are a lot better at me with their words to make the same point without being so direct. So I would give them credit for that. The jury's still out to see if it's going to be 6-1 all the time. We'll see. But I feel a lot more optimistic. I'll tell you that.
Well, that's I guess that's better than what it could be. I definitely appreciate you taking the time to come on and talk with us. And I'm just, let me double check here, make sure that I have everybody's everything that I need here. I'm just want to double check. I've got this. When is this sent? Oh, that's not good. Back this up. Do you know off the top of your head the email for Eugene Whitehead?
Well, all of our emails are the same. It's the first initial, and then it's the last name, and then it should be at delawarecounty.in.gov or something along them lines. Whatever mine is, just replace my name with E Whitehead. That should be his.
Okay, email. So it is that for everybody else.
I'm almost.
So I've got Piper. I've got Hughes. I've got Webb. Flanagan. Okay. So I have this all in here, right? Before we go. Okay. F A.
And while you're figuring that up, Chris, I want to say, even though we're in a little bit of an adversarial deal with the department heads when they come in, they're asking for everything and we're pushing them back. There was a lot of cooperation. Someone started the trend of giving us back money this year that they had in their budget. They recognized, hey, I've got 20 grand in this account. I'm not going to spend it. I'm going to give it back to you guys to go in the general fund. That goes towards that $6.5 million to start next year. I can't remember who started it, but it got the ball rolling. Everyone coming up there. The first thing that we talked about before we started talking about cuts to the 2024 budget was, what can you give back this year? And hell, I got a whole list here, and we had I don't know, 10, 12, 15 departments. It wound up totaling about $160,000 that they gave back this year. And the reason why that's important, because a lot of people who have a budget, some people are incorrectly trained that even if you don't need that money at the end of the year, go ahead and spend it on something.
Yes.
Because if you don't, you won't get that money allocated next year, right? So for these guys to give that money up, that was a big deal. That was a big deal. And it really set the tone. And I know the council was very appreciative of giving back, doing what they could. Granted, they were fighting their fight for their 2024 budget, but they were generous in giving back what they could, especially the commissioners. The commissioners gave back the most. Shannon Henry was an absolute pleasure to work with us during this budget.
That's really amazing to hear that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm not always been the biggest fan of his, but it's good to hear that. And it's good to hear that everyone else is doing what they can, I guess, in that way. So, at least we know that, it's not everybody's just totally chaotic and whatnot. So that is good to hear.
Shannon was really, really, really good on giving back. With that being said, when I talked about those increases, I just want to say this real quick while I got this paper. The biggest increase, the commissioners had an increase of $1.125 million. The election board's increase was $350,000. Sheriff increased $276,000. Those were the big ones. And the courts The courts was 338,000. That's an increase over the 2023 levels. So you can see how we went from needing to cut 1.2 million to going up to 3.7 because we had these massive increases, and that was them saying they couldn't live without that money. That was what they said, they had to have it. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. Am I here by myself? Where the hell did Chris go? I don't know if anybody else is out here or not. If you guys can see anything, put a question in or something. Okay, all right. I guess until Chris gets back, I can start giving you guys cooking tips. I usually eat out.
I don't know what happened to Kristopher. He kind of dumped off the planet. He's not even in the duck anymore. So
yeah, I noticed that. I'm like, what the hell happened here?
Sorry about that. We
No,
did have
sorry.
a couple of questions I don't think that really got to. Why the insistence on keeping the pay rates all moving forward together, all or none, and not being based on performance?
I don't know. I think equity, being fair to everyone. I tried to make the argument. I disagreed with it, but I was outvoted, and I think it was, if we can't do it for everyone, we won't do it for this person or whatever. So, which doesn't really make sense because there are other instances throughout the budget where certain people got raises and others didn't. So, I mean, your guess is as good as mine on that.
And then Tim also asked, what are your thoughts on revenue creating departments having to give up this revenue to the general fund? Their point of view is that they earn that money, and then so they should be able to spend it.
Well, that was actually a very hot topic, specifically from the 911 director, Fred Cummings. He was very passionate about his people. And, people should know this. Last year, when everybody was taking their big budgets, Fred, instead of trying to get all of his people all the raises in 1 year, he was trying to be a team player. He submitted a 3-year plan. So he only got 1/3 of his expected raises last year. He come into this year expecting us to continue that trend. He was blown away when everybody set the numbers back because they were pretty much counting on that and needing it. And he made a passionate argument to the council that, I bring in, he had all kinds of revenue brought in. Just the 911 agreement along with the city brings in $1 million, and that's up 200,000 from last year, right? So his argument was, I'm bringing in all this revenue. Sheriff made the same argument. It's not fair that I basically subsidize all the other departments before my department's needs are met. He's saying, I'm happy to subsidize your other departments, but it has to come after my people are taken care of. I don't think I'd have to disagree with him on that. Council, that may be one of the ones that's still up in the air. I don't know if a final decision was made on that one. But yeah, I see it both ways. There's only so many departments that bring in revenue, right? So that has to go to some of the others to help support it. But at the same time, it should be a balance. We should be able to at least take care of that department who brings in the revenue. Otherwise, there's no incentive to bring in that revenue.
So, well, no, and I get your point, but at the same time, how much revenue of the county comes in from property taxes and lit tax and all this other stuff? I mean, they are claiming that we made the money, so we should be able to spend it. Well, if I'm paying taxes in Delaware County, then I should be able to spend that. So, the argument's not there. Government is there to subsidize services and the people that work to provide those services. So my thinking,
well, yeah, and
maybe you could have a percentage of what your revenue is that you're bringing in, but Government
and I
subsidizes. That's what they do.
I agree with you, and I think that's what we generally do, and I think they're all okay with that formula as well. What they were told is your guys aren't getting taken care of at all, and we're going to take all your money you brought in. What they were saying is I'm perfectly content because they bring in way more money than they need. All they were saying is, can we at least get the stuff we need and then spread it around? And it's tough to argue with. I see both sides of it.
Yeah, but then you
I
run
see
into
both
the
sides
issue
of it.
we bring in $1 million in revenue. Oh, and I found $1 million worth of stuff that my department needs.
Right, absolutely. And that's why it's up to the council to balance that, because you'll get that. And I've said that over and over. If you give them the money, they'll find something to spend it on. That's why you got to have it within reason, and I've learned, and I'm only going to use Fred as an example. I'm not going to use anyone. You learned a little bit, at least for me, doing this a couple of years, which department heads are when they tell you this is where I'm at, I could pretty much take their word. That's where they're at. Some of the other ones, I know there's a couple $100,000 there that they could probably cut loose of. You know what I mean? And I've learned that over the course of years. And the only thing I can tell you that would get you there is working with these departments. I don't just show up at the budget meetings and meet with these folks. I've had one-on-one private meetings with 911 director Fred Cummins. I've had one-on-one private meetings with the EMA director or the EMS director Mike Ashley. We meet. I can't speak for all the other council members, but I meet one-on-one with these department heads and let them give me their pitch about why they need stuff. I go to their department. I meet their people. I see their area, and it helps me as a council member understand their needs better. Instead of seeing just numbers on a paper, I've been in that department. I've seen their shitty chairs and their crappy 8-year-old computer, right? So I do that on my own. I don't know if everybody else does that. I do that, and I encourage everyone else to do that because it helps me with my decision making when deciding to take their money and giving it to everybody else if that's what we need to do.
So is there a point where the council is going to hand these budgets back to the departments and say, this is where we have to be. We need your department to find X amount to cut?
You know
Or
what?
is
I
it
think
going to be the council making those decisions.
in a normal year, that's generally what's done. I think they don't just turn in their raises. We tell them, hey, put in a 4% raise or put in a 10% increase in insurance, right? The council president generally tells them that. I don't know what the hell happened this year that we didn't find out until the day of the budget meetings that there's no money that we thought was there, right? You got to keep in mind when they turn in that budget
for the meetings.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Those department heads have to turn in that budget by July 1st. So it's a 6-month mark, right?
Right.
We're now a couple months past that, right? So we're a month past that. So they had no idea when they turned it in that we didn't have this money. They had no clue. I didn't get my packet until I walked in. I walked in and the book was on the table. So I literally did not know this until then. So now, to be fair, I don't want to throw anyone on the bus. We were all sent an email about 6 days before that saying the books are available. I worked till 6 or 7 o'clock every night. I couldn't get up there before 4 o'clock closed to get my book. So some of the other council members may have had the book, but we still didn't know that the revenue wasn't there. Like, if you remember, we had a pre-budget meeting last week. We had our books. We had what everybody wanted. We had no idea that we were over $7 million until 2 days ago.
Jeez.
And I don't know why the hell that happened. I have no idea why we just found that out. I have no clue.
So do you know if this shortfall is going to carry over into the city as well, or is this just something really primarily the county is going to be dealing with? Do you know?
They may have their own problems, but our problems are completely unrelated to theirs. So I'm not going to say they don't have their own shortfalls, but it has nothing to do with ours. Yeah, totally separate.
Okay. Well, Bilbrey is apparently done for the night because he says his camera is the word he used was scuffed. We'll use the correct word, fucked. His camera is fucked. And the city
Sound
budget
like me.
is working out on Sunday night. So make sure everybody comes back for that episode. Did you have anything else that you wanted to say about the budget process here in the county before we wrap things up?
Nope. I just want to thank you guys for giving me an opportunity to come on. I want to thank the people watching for your questions. I want to encourage you, if you have any more questions, you didn't get them in here, you guys all know you can message me, Ryan Webb for County Council. You can, my phone number is 765-808-2385. You can call me, you can text me.
Can you do that one more time, please?
Yes, ma'am. 765-808-2385.
2385.
Yeah. You can
All right, we'll
call.
get that up on the screen there for everyone.
Yeah, you can call me, you can text me, you can email me, you can message me if you have questions, if you have anything to add. If you want me to pass anything along to the other council members, I'll be happy to do it. So I just wanted to let everyone know that, and I appreciate you tuning in. And make sure you watch Thursday. Yeah,
make sure you watching on the Fucking Thing Sucks. We'll do it live. Yeah, Chris.
Yeah.
So Sunday is the city budget. Next week, we're going to have some updates on more Sproles baloney going on. But we will be here, and we do appreciate you coming on, Ryan. It was great of you to come on to talk about the budget, and that you're so responsive to questions from our viewers. A lot of people, whether they live in Delaware County or outside, get really invested in this stuff. So it's refreshing to have somebody on that's willing to speak. And whether we agree with you or not on everything, it's still nice to have somebody that's willing to answer questions. So we appreciate that very much. So we'll see you another time, I'm sure, after next week's budget kerfluffle.
Yeah, and my goal is to be the most transparent elected official in all of Indiana. That's my goal. And if you feel I'm not living up to that, you guys let me know, and I'll continue to work on it. So again, I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, people think that him and I are like buddies, and I try to tell them.
No, I'm pretty sure the rumor was that you're lovers.
Yeah, that's possible too.
Yeah.
But I told him, I said, trust me, if I don't do my job, he'll come after me just as quick as he would anyone else. So, and I know that, and I need that. I want people to hold me accountable. I don't mind it. I don't mind the criticism. So there'll be a day when he'll probably criticize me. I'm sure he will. He probably already has.
We have had a lot of people who have commented about your automatic beer dispenser. I think they would be really happy if your automatic beer dispenser would make an appearance and at least give us a wave. Do you think she's willing to do that?
Well, you're talking about my wife. She's in the back. She's had shoulder surgery. I was lucky enough to get her to use her one good arm to bring me this one beer. But that's another thing. People don't realize this. My wife had shoulder surgery, rotator cuff, and bicep surgery the night before the budget meeting. So I was up all night with that. I go 13 hours to the meeting, then I rest home, and I'm waiting on her hand and foot. I'm going to bed about 2:00 every night, getting up 3 or 4 times throughout the night to help her with her medicines, whatever she needs. It's been a crazy freaking week, man. She's just now up walking around today, like functioning normal. So yeah,
Well,
she's probably in there napping
her hand
right
is
now.
Working wonderfully.
Yes, her one hand is yes. At least we got that part working quickly because we can't go without the beer for too long. But she's sitting there napping with my baby.
I was more concerned about the child.
Yeah, she's sitting there with the wife taking a nap.
You have a very little one at home, so
yeah.
Trying to do that one-handed is difficult at best. And the fact that she can wrangle a little one and bring you a beer one-armed.
Yes.
But
that just started today. I've been having to deal with all of that, the baby and her. So this has been a stressful 3 days. I've been dealing with my wife, taking care of the baby by myself, and then on top of that, all the crazy chaos at the council. People see the videos, they think our lives just end at that. I go home and it's stressful there too. So thank goodness she's able to get enough to get up moving today and help me stay hydrated. So
well, thank you again for coming on. We do have your number up on the screen, so if anyone has any questions or comments, they can go ahead and text those to you. tell your automatic beer dispenser / lovely wife that the viewers next time might like if she would wave for us all.
I will.
All right. So we will see you later. And thank you again for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Thank you to the viewers.
So Sunday night is our next episode. So we hope that you'll all be joining us then. And as always, please remember to like the show, share the show with everyone that you know. And as always, we hope you have a great night. And I'm trying to find my stupid banner that I need to put up here. So I appreciate you all dealing with me. I know that's not who you jump on to watch. So I hope you all have a great night, and we'll see you again here in just a couple days with more budget, but this time at the city level and Sproles next week. So have a good night, everybody, and a great rest of your weekend. We'll see you again soon.